Now going forward, now this thing is clear. The results are delivered. I think I can now manage my timing accordingly so that I can go to my home and come back on key dates. That's not a problem. Yeah, super. So good way to. So we slok Vishnu Sahasranamam, right? Sanjay, are you able to benefit from this on the Vishnu Sahasranamam? Super. Got it. Got it. So I will, if you still need the script, I'm preparing the script, which will be there in multiple languages. My chief architect was hospitalized of the script. So I didn't want to bother him till he recovers. But Padmaja's husband is the chief architect. He's the master script writer. Yeah. Yeah. So great. So the shloka numbers 11 goes like Ajas Sarveshwara Siddhas Siddhis Sarvadirayachatah. The last word is Sarvadirachyutah. My tongue is locked. Ajas Sarveshwara Siddhas Siddhis Sarvadirachyutah. Here, I would suggest when we chant these kind of lines where you see a lot of visargas, and Sonalji, visarga is that colon, the two dots that you see. I will not be able to say comment on how it looks on other script in English or Tamil, but in Sanskritam there will be two dot. When it gets transliterated into other languages, there may be other symbol that will be there, but you can make a note of it. After Aja, there is a Visarga. So Ajaha. After Sarveshwara, there is a Visarga. Sarveshwaraha. Siddha. Siddhaha. Now, here, if you are not very familiar with Devanagari script for Sanskritam, the way it is written is where you see the full akshara is actually supposed to be chanted as half. And where it is shown as half akshara, that is supposed to be chanted as full. So in this case, you land from C, which is hraswa, short. Then you do id, the for the mendi, half of that, sid, and then the dha is hard, fourth dha. So siddha followed by siddhi. The first akshara of the subsequent word is starting with sa. So you apply the visarga rule and you say that as siddhas. Similarly, siddhis, because after siddhi there is a visarga. So siddhis, because the following word starts with sa, sarva dirachyutah. And when it comes to aksharas like ich, you, ta, ha, again it ends in a visarga. So for the geeks, I would clarify that when you end the shloka with a visarga like this, typically what is taught and what is known, even I'm not an exception to that, is if the akshara preceding the visarga at the end is one matra, which is in this case ta, then you say taha. If assuming it was ta, then you do it two matra for ta and two matra for visarga. Taha. That is the normal teaching that you would hear from everybody. But for the geeks, if you want to be super perfect on technical terms, that end is not ha, it is h, sort of shaved off at the head. So it actually is one matra. So sarva dirach, I will apply the rule of taking the half syllable ich with ra, dirach, ich, and then say yutah. Yutah. You just chop off the ha. But if it is too much of a trouble, just forget it. You can go with saying dirach yutah. The reason I'm saying start with dirach is because you will get the clarity of yutah. Dirach yutah. Instead of saying dirach yutah, it should not become chutah or something like that. It is ich yutah, dirach yutah. So I'm giving the detailed explanation because Sanjay wanted those details. That is why I'm sharing it. Yeah. So the next one is Vrisha Kapira Meyatma Sarva Yoga Vinisritah. So again, when you come to Akshara like Sri, it is is plus R. R is the vowel. So Sri, you see my lips going like this. This gets you Sri, like Krishna. Krishna. It has got converted to many different names like Krishna or Krishna. They're all wrong pronunciation. It is actually Krishna. R. So here also Vrisha, and again Sha is soft Sha. Vrisha Kapira Meyatma Sarva Yoga Vinisritah. Vinisritah. Vasur Vasubanas Satyas Samatma Sammitas Samah. Vasur Vasubanaha will become Vasur Vasubanas. Satyaha will become Satyas. Samatma. After Ma, there has to be one extra matra. And if you see I don't know what is the letter in other languages, but in Sanskrit you will see it like a capital S. That is called Avagraha. I don't know whether I have explained it in the past, but nevertheless, I have the habit of repeating some things important throughout the course so that those who have forgotten something or those who may not have paid attention in the past or missed a class or two, they can benefit from it. If you see Namaha and Astu, two aksharas in Sanskrit, Namaha, Astu. And as I said before, Sanskrit is the only language in the world where you can go to the most derived form of writing, which means Vasur Vasubanaha can be written as iv plus a plus is plus u. Just you can space it out into the most derived form, or you can combine the whole shloka into one word, number one. Or in other cases, in either colloquial conversational style, you can change the position of any word in the sentence in any way and form. It doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. Like in English, if you say this is an apple, right? You have specific position for is, specific position for apple. If I just jumble it up, and is this an apple? Doesn't make sense. In Sanskrit, you can jumble it the way you want it. It doesn't change it. So that's the beauty of that language. So the pronunciation of each akshara is defined in the language itself, technically. From where, what portion of the body or the upper body that you have to use to deliver that sound. Is it from the front of the mouth, from the back of the mouth, from the kantham, or through the nabhi? Everything is clearly specified. That is the significance that the language has given for each akshara, because the akshara produces a sound. And when you're in the business of producing sounds, you better watch out what you're trying to do, because your ultimate aim has to be maintaining the simple harmonics without changing it and causing a negative or destructive effect. That's the whole idea. And if I have not said this before, I will say this. When we learn Veda, the method of teaching or chanting Veda while learning has been extended to almost 16 different styles or forms of chanting. So when I say Om Ganana Am Twa Ganapatikam Avamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam, this is Samhita. Samhita means text or prose. I will skip all the other details. There is Jata, Krama, Mala, different styles. The last one is called Ghanapatha. So where you have a specific form A B B C A D B C C B B E. So you keep doing that combination, which means Om Ganana Am Twa Twa Gada Ganapatikam Ganana Am Twa Ganapatikam Twa. So you keep on doing that form, which means those who are learning Vedas as a profession, the Pandits, the priests, they need to learn and chant by memory. What we call it as 4 different Vedas is one Veda. Every one of that has to be chanted in that form. So you can imagine how many million hours they're spending to learn and perfect it. That is because the intended goal is that you can't say, oh, this is how we chant in South India, this is how we chant in western part of Maharashtra and all that crap. They don't care where you come from. This is how it is supposed to be chanted. So you will chant exactly the way it is intended to be. I'm just trying to stress the significance. I'm not trying to scare you off, but that is the importance of Akshara Shuddhi, Matra Shuddhi, Shruti Shuddhi, and Balam. And so much so that in the first chapter of Vedic learning, this is what gets taught. The Sishyas, they take the pledge with the Gurus that yes, we will maintain all this and we'll follow the discipline and so on and so forth. So here, Namo Astu, coming back to that. So Namaha plus Astu, when you combine it, there are rules for each of the things, how to combine and what to do, what not to do. So those rules are called Sandhis in Sanskritam. As far as Visarga Sandhi, there are only 85 Sandhis, not much. I applied the 80-20 rule. I taught only 16 of them. Mostly it was a monologue in those 9 classes. It took me 9 weeks, and those things are available on my channel on YouTube. If you're interested, you can go there. If you've got access to the shared iCloud folder, the script for those classes are also there, if you're interested. If you don't find it, I'll share it with you. So Namaha and Astu, when you combine it, the rule says you drop the Visarga. It's a place where you drop the Visarga. Most other places like Satyaha, Samatma, you substitute the Visarga with is. In this case, you drop the Visarga, but that Ma plus A becomes Mo. Ma plus followed by A, the rule says make it Mo. But since this is the place where you're dropping the Visarga, you cannot alter the meter of the shloka because you're dropping one Akshara. That is why this S is there. It's called a filler Akshara. So you don't say Namostu. You say Namostu. You drag the Mo with one more extra Matra and complete the meter and maintain the meter integrity. So if it is too technical, Sonalji, don't worry. I'll repeat it a few more times during the class in later sessions. And slowly you'll get used to it. If it is still very complicated, ignore it. Just chant the way I'm chanting it. That's good enough. Okay? Right. She'll say, Vishnu Sahasranamam सिखाने के लिए आया और ये बंदा क्या क्या सिखा रहा है, क्या क्या बोलते जा रहा है यार. Okay, so Vasur, and it is very, very important. And those who are technically qualified, right? When you chant it, either they know or even if they don't know, the way you chant it, they will appreciate your chanting because they can hear and find out that you are giving one extra matra. There are certain places in Devi Matmam and all where we have two avagrahas. That means you are supposed to extend it by two. And invariably, people who are technically qualified and knowledgeable will appreciate it, saying that excellent chanting. So it's not of insignificant value. That's one thing I would like to clarify. I've always taught everybody who's learning from me for all these years to stress on these things. But the reality of life is also when you sit down in a large group, they all come from different sources of learning and teaching, etc. There may be people who would like to, finish off chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam in 10, 12 minutes. They may be going at jet speed. They may not pay attention to all these things. My humble request is never sit and argue or criticize others. Uh, and also don't take anybody correcting you very personally and get into any kind of arguments. There should never be an argument, your teacher makes sense or your teacher doesn't make sense and you have been taught wrong and right. Those rights and wrongs arguments should never come in this business at all. If somebody says you made a mistake, you can say, thank you so much for your input. I'll go back to my teacher and I'll get it corrected. That's about it. The conversation ends there. And vice versa, you don't insult those people's learning or Guru Parampara, right? So please bear that in mind. Vasurvasuvana satyas samatma sammitas samah amogha pundarikaksho vrishakarma vrishakritihi amogha pundarikaksho vrishakarma vrishakritihi. So gha is hard gha. So no matter at what speed you're chanting, you say amogha, not amoga. Ga for Gayatri is wrong. This is gha, the fourth ga. Same way, pundarikaksha. Is supposed to be that hard na. So you need to roll your tongue up and ensure you say pundarikaksha instead of saying pundarikaksha. There is a difference between pundarikaksha and pundarikaksha. Kaksho, KSH. Rudro Bahushira Babhrur Vishwayonish Shuchishravaha. Rudro Bahushira Babhrur Vishwayonish Shuchishravaha. Here, Shu is Sha hard, Shra is soft. Amritash Shashvatasthanur Vararoho Mahatapaha. Amritashashvatasthanur Varaho Mahatapaha. The next shloka, I will help you how to split it while learning, and then once you get used to it, you can combine it. The long word will be Sarvavid, Sarvavid, Bhanur, Vishwakseno, Vishwakseno. Now, when I'm teaching this way, this is unorthodox way of teaching. I also want to make it very clear. I got blasted in YouTube, trolled heavily because the guy who, with my own name, unfortunately, the guy was with my same name, decided to take it heavy on me and saying, first you learn before you start teaching others. And you'll find many people on YouTube doing that. And they're specialized in their profession is to do that. He probably missed the first two classes where I was trying to go too technical and people got very distracted. They said, no, we don't want to get into the Sanskrit grammar perfection. We just need to know how to chant it well. That's about it. So, unorthodox way of teaching is to make it easy for chanting. Like the Namo explanation, to some it is very attractive, to some it is very confusing. I don't want to know all the details. You just tell me how to chant it, that's good enough for me. So the way I explained it, to split it, is only from a chanting perspective. It is not the technically correct way of explaining it. So Sarvagas Sarvavidbhanur Dishvakseno Janardanaha. Now, the significance of the way I'm dividing the words and trying to give you the grouping, my humble request is to grab it with both hands for two reasons. One, it will ensure integrity of chanting. You will be able to roll your tongue from hard to soft, soft to hard consonants fluently without having to compromise on the matra. And the most advantage that you will derive out of doing this is you will be in sync with the rest of the world. The way, if people are taught in the right way, you don't have to do rehearsal. We never do sit and rehearsal when we start, sitting in a large group of people from different sources of learning. Everybody will chant the same way. And more importantly, if somebody decides to accelerate the speed of chanting, it will flow very naturally. If you follow your own method of learning or reading from the PDF and it doesn't fall into that grouping, you will either fumble, you'll make a mistake, or you'll not be able to keep pace with the group. So pay due attention to the grouping, because I've seen many people, they say yes in the class, but then they go back, they forget everything, and they start reading from the PDF, which is more like self-learning, and then they start fumbling. So if you have ability to mark, you can mark the grouping that I'm giving you. So same way, Vedo Vedavidavyango Vedango Vedavit Kavihi. Vedo Vedavidavyango Vedango Vedavit Kavihi. Lokadhyakshas Suradhyaksho Dharmadhyakshah Krita Kritah. Lokadhyakshas Suradhyaksho Dharmadhyakshas Krita Kritah. Again, in the next line, the grouping is Chatur Vyuhash Chatur Downstrash Chatur Bhujah. Bha is heart. So Chaturatma Chaturvyuhash Chatur Downstrash Chatur Bhujah. Chaturatma Chaturvyuhash Chatur Downstrash Chatur Bhujah. So I will stop with only 5 shlokas today, because I've spent a lot of time in trying to explain many other things. If it is okay, we'll continue in the next class. Yeah. So hope Sanjay you have benefited from the details. Good. Yeah. So last class in Mundaka Upanishad, we had an excellent conversation. And those who missed it, I hope you were able to watch the YouTube. Yeah. So the beauty of Shloka 5 is, in one Shloka, many messages are delivered, right? So anybody is able to recall or share what they learned in Shloka 5. Sort of a quick recap. What is being said in Tatra Para Rigvedo Yajurvedas Samavedo Tharvavedah Shiksha Kalpo Vyakaranam Niruktam Chando Jyotishamiti. Atha parayaya tadaksharamidagmyate. I'm going to start with Sonal Ji. I'm going to put her under. Yeah, go ahead, Usha. Correct. Correct. Usha is a ranker from our batch, Sonal Ji, by the way. And she, no, I'm serious about it. I'm not joking. Uh, so it's very difficult to answer after her. That's why I was jumping to say first Sonal Ji. But fortunately for you, she has left one important detail. One important detail. So if anybody can catch that. Yes, beautiful. Good addition. What else? See, the devil is in the detail, right? Very, very minute detail. But you got one, Sonalji, very good. The latter part is atha parayaya tadaksharam adhigamyate. Madhi tadak tat aksharam adhigamyate. Which means you can reach Brahman through the higher level knowledge. So it's about reaching God, the higher level. When we call it Jivatma and Paramatma, you merge with Paramatma. And you're trying to reach that Brahman. You are a part of that, and you're going back to that's our concept. And I will not go into the technical details, otherwise Radha will tear me apart in a different direction, assuming that she is Visishtadvaita. So we will not go into the Dvaita, Advaita, and Visishtadvaita, but bottom line, all three philosophies, schools of thoughts agree on one thing, that yeah, we must back to. So it's clear, right? So it's not difficult to understand. So what it means is that in Vedas we learn many things. Like what I'm teaching right now, Sanskrit rules, Sandhi, grammar, they are called all Vyakaranam. Then you need to know the root of the akshara, etymology, or the word, the etymology or the origin of those words. So you learn many things. Those are called Vedangas, including Jyotisha Shastra is a part of Vedas, right? So many people make fun of me. They say, "Oh, for you, everything is in Sanatana Dharma, everything is in Vedas, right?" And they like to troll me. And Sanjay is a very standing witness to that. So he will say that I'm not making it up. The beauty is, the beauty is, I'm sorry, I'm digressing again, but it is a very important point. Again, I have taken a special class for that, for explaining. We are being told constantly that everything is taught by the West. Everything is taught by the West. Except zero, India gave nothing to the whole world, and that itself is an insult to India and Indians, which I refuse to accept. The word decimal, oh, it's a Greek origin. Makes no sense to me, because if you know Chamakam, which is part of Veda, the 11th Anuvaka itself is Eka me, Tisrascha me, Panchacha me, Saptacha me, Navacha me, Ekadashacha me, Trayodashacha me, Panchadashacha me, Saptadashacha me, Navadashacha me, Ekavigumshatischa me, Trayovigumshatischa. How many times I'm saying Dasha, Dasha, Dasha? So how can there be a Dasha in Chamakam, which is given to us millions of years ago? Not, and again, there's another thing of 5,000 years old Vedas. I don't subscribe to those things. What Vedavyasa did is we lost everything. We lost everything of what we had. So whatever little was left, little, that was literally little of the original Vedas, he grabbed it. He says, okay, it's high time I codify it. And the purpose of codifying is not to divide it into silos. Oh, you are Ajurveda and I'm Samaveda and I'm superior and you are inferior. These are all our own creation. He codified it because he knows in Kali Yuga our capability is going to degrade. We cannot memorize everything, we cannot chant everything, we'll not learn everything, we don't have time. So he codified it. He said, okay, Usha, you take care of this, Sonalji, you take care of this, Sanjay, you take care of this. So he divided it amongst various rishis and said, okay, you just teach this. If people don't have time to learn everything else, at least they will learn one part of it. That is what the background is. It was not meant to divide and put it into silos. So just like you see decimal system already existing there, you can put a little bit more effort and you will see there is so much of science, engineering. When I'm talking of engineering, Sanjay, I'm talking of metallurgy, stuff like metallurgy. Recently, you must have seen in WhatsApp University, there is something called, for the Ram Mandir, there is a huge bell being made from South India and is being sent. So I'm sure you would have heard the word Dhatu, Ashta Dhatu. Okay. And what I'm trying to explain here is not trying to establish a sense of superiority that we are superior and everybody is inferior. I'm not into that business at all. What I am saying is I'm proud of what I got. So Ashtadhatu is nothing but metallurgy. We had the knowledge of metals. So this whole concept of Mendeleev table, everything is learned from the West, and that is what it is. And until then, we were all, running after snakes and driving away cows from the street. Is all brainwashed concepts. Please stop accepting it or feeling inferior. The beauty of that is, if you go to a temple or if you buy an idol from the shop, you may want to know it is made of an alloy. Alloy itself is a mixture of metals. So you have brass idols, you have bronze idols, and you have panchaloka. Not everything is ashtam. Ashtam means 8, pancha means 5. Panchalokam is most common for people like us who can afford to buy expensive idols because it costs a lot of money. Brass and bronze ones, you'll get it cheaper because they are cast. Again, casting. Oh, the whole foundry principle is coming from the West. No, we have been casting metals for ages. Now, let me take it one level further, where the Ashtadhatu or Panchalokam is not something which is standard, one size fits all. If you are going to keep an idol in your home, they will ask you first for your star and Rashi of your birth. Based on your star and Rashi, they vary the mixture, the ratio, proportions. So, there are people who would have asked me, I teach Sri Vidya to many people, so they will show Meru that is available in Giri stores. Guruji, can we buy this? And can we keep it at home? The dilemma for me is I can't say to any Meru looking structure to say don't buy it. No, it is inferior. My answer will be yes. But it is for the person to know whether by bringing such idols in your home, are you disturbing the energy dynamics within your home? So please understand one concept. Even welcoming people into your home, you have to be very careful. Each person carries a certain level of aura and energy. So you can't allow somebody to just come into your home and live with you. And same way it works for idols, etc. That are made out of different metals. What metal they are made up of, how what kind of an impact it has in your home, where you keep it, what direction you keep it. Mind-boggling level of details, right? And on a lighter note, there is a 2-page description of how to go to the restroom and what to do. Yeah, those days tissues were not there. Can you believe that? So we were not naive people. There is enough information. Atharva Veda is full dedicated to medicines. It talks about detailed knowledge about herbs, plants, extracts, active ingredients, formulations. There is a whole field called Ayurvedic alchemy. People specialize in that. They do postdoc. So, in a way, there is a revival of that. People are getting now suddenly awakening up, especially after some controversial ordinance being passed in the US. There's a global awakening that is happening, which is good. So, I'm sharing some details here. So, you will understand why this Mundaka Upanishad is important to you. Either you can just read it as a text and say, oh, okay, lower level knowledge, higher level knowledge. I understand. I memorize and I repeat it. Or you can start internalizing it and say, okay, I make a beginning in my Montessori into this field by appreciating what it means. That's your first step, not the last step. Subsequently, there are many tools and techniques and methods by which you can say, I know how to apply it into my daily life. Because at the end of the day, before you are completing your birth this time, you don't want to stop it by saying, oh, I'm able to read a PDF or I'm able to memorize a PDF. That's not the ultimate goal. So you're able to understand the meaning of it and apply it. So, Usha, again, Vedas talk about all the mantram, acharana, as I said, Shruti, Matra, Balam, etc., etc. As you graduate, and when you graduate means you are expected to know how to chant perfectly, chant well. One other thing I forgot to tell you in Vishnu Sahasranamam is there are notations. That means you have a one vertical line, that is only the half of the shloka. There has to be two vertical lines that denotes the completion of the shloka. This is one part. Second part, if you go to some sites, there will be something called big PDF document, which means big fonts. People like me, if I'm getting old because of light, I cannot read small fonts. For that, they would increase the font size, which means the same shloka which I can write in one line can come into 4 lines. That does not mean there are 4 parts or 4 half of the shloka. The shloka is still the same. So don't get confused with typesetting, which is font management and font size, etc., versus what is the beginning of the shloka and end of the shloka. People have tried every means. I'm telling you, I'm a big script writer myself. I generate scripts. I know the issues. So we try different means to communicate to people. We put number in the shloka. So now the question is number whether you put in the beginning or you put in the end. The moment you put in the end, people start with that half shloka. Oh, the number is in front of that. So no, you have to now triangulate with all the data points that I've given of 1 line, 2 line, number, etc., to say where it starts and where it ends. Right? So great. So all of these parts are called Vedangas or limbs of the Vedas, without whose knowledge a proper understanding of Vedas is impossible. Right? So now let's go to the next one. Yet तदद्रेश्यमग्राह्यमग्रोत्तमवर्णमचक्षुश्रोत्रम् तदपाणिपादम् नित्यं विभुं सर्वगतं सुसूक्ष्मं तदव्ययं यद्भृतयोनिं परिपश्यन्ति धीराः. I could have chanted this in a faster speed, and you could have said, what did you do just now? And this is a demonstration that the first part of the shloka, Tadapani Padam, ends with one vertical line. That means that is the first half of the shloka. So if you see that in Sanskritam script, the whole line is one word, except Tadapani Padam. So the next term that you can get introduced is Padabhedam. Padabhedam means now I'm going to take it and slice it and dice it to understand the meaning. So the first part is Yat Tatit. Yat Tatit means what. What means it is being referenced? Adreshyam. Any guess what it could mean? Correct. There's a difference. I didn't correct her immediately. Minute difference is adreshyam is not perceivable. Subtle difference. The next word is agrahyam. Any guess? Perfect. Correct. So, any clue of what is happening? There's a trend that is coming in these two words. Huh? Correct. Correct. Also, I'm trying to give you the trend in the words, not necessarily the meaning. Also, your explanation was correct. Perfect. Perfect. That's the point. So again, a digressing statement. If you go to the Latin words or Greek words, there is a concept of prefix, suffix, and the root in English. English is nothing but derived from Latin, Greek, and various other languages. Amorous, amorphic, starts with A or A. Rest, I don't want to complete the sentence. You can understand where I'm going with that. Right? You can keep fighting which is the oldest language and the newest language and everything. So there's a lot of similarity that you will see. Right? Good. So agotram. Any guess? Yeah, so far Radha has been answering the questions in terms of when I asked Adreshyam, she said that which cannot be seen. And when I was referencing to the subtle difference, I was talking about Adreshyam is not perceivable. I also got the answer for Agrahyam. Grahyam means grasping, Agrahyam means that which cannot be grasped. And then when I asked the question about trends, Usha was explaining it in terms of that we are trying to describe the Brahman here. I pointed out the trend in the words that starts with a. I'm keeping up my commitment to Radha that I'm paraphrasing whatever is happening there for the YouTube. Yeah, yeah. Agotram. Yeah. Yes, yes. No, no. It's a good point. That's why I'm repeating it because there are other people who have missed it. They can go and benefit from that. Yeah, it's a very valid point. So Agotram, correct. Gotram is origin. Agotram is without origin. Yeah. Avarnam. Avarnam, you can't describe. Any other answer? Color. Correct. Colorless, without any color. Correct. So, achakshushrotram. Achakshushrotram. Any guess? Super. See, it's so heartening to see that you are able to answer that. So, chakshu and shrotram is eyes and ears, which means basically we are trying to say that Brahman is attributeless, you know, without any senses. So, eyes and ears are anybody can say the Sanskritam word for that? Part of what? Eyes and ears are part of what? Huh? Yeah, sense organs we agreed in English. I'm saying what is the Sanskritam word for that? No, who said that? Sonalji? Padmaja. Okay. So don't say Jnanendriya. While the answer may sound right, the equivalent of sensory organs or senses is Indriya. Any guess why I'm correcting it? Padmaja should be able to answer that immediately. There are different types of Indriyas, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I will not digress more now. This particular class has been too monotonous with a lot of dialogue, so I'll move on. So tat again that apani padam. No guess, no marks for guessing now. Pani is hand. Apani padam without hands. A means without. Pani padam hands and feet. Padam is feet. Nityam is very easy, eternal. Vibhum. The next part of the shloka. Nityam vibhum sarvagatam. So what is vibhum? Manifold expressions. Vibhum. Sarvagatam. Yeah, sarvagatam. Correct. Correct. So just a trick question. Is there a difference between all pervading and omnipresent? Super. Perfect. See, there can be there's an iPad here. There is many things that are present here, there, everywhere. Or I can say that this particular object is present everywhere. Present doesn't mean it is pervasive. Pervading means I can experience it. It's not just a static object or that can be seen. You can experience it. It's all pervading, right? So then susukshmam. This should be very easy. Subtle. Sukshmam is subtle. Sushukshmam means extremely subtle. Extremely subtle. Right? That is again that. Avyayam. Undecaying. Avyayam is undecaying. Correct. Because and the part is that when we have a living organism or a living part, it can get decayed. The natural life cycle is there. Here, it doesn't decay. It doesn't degrade or it doesn't vanish. Undecaying. Yet, which bhuta yonim. Very important word. And you need to keep understanding this if you want to learn many other things from me. Any guess? Correct. So, it is the source of the creation. Bhuta yonim means source of the creation. Dhiraha and paripashyanti. Dhiraha means the wise. Paripashyanti. Dhiraha. Sanjay, you missed the dhiraha word, the wise. And paripashyanti means behold everywhere. So if you have to summarize that, what this shloka says is that which is unperceivable, ungraspable, without any origin or without any color, without eyes and ears or any kind of sensory organs, or physical organs, yet that which is eternal with manifold expressions. I expected somebody to say, explain what is manifold expressions. I think the class is becoming too technical today to. I hope I didn't put people to sleep. So, manifold expression, what is the meaning? Fantastic. Fantastic. So, whatever you see around you, which you call as Srishti or nature or the cosmos, there are different forms of expressions. You have the expressions in the form of plants, animals, humans, many different light, sound, right? So, that which is eternal and with manifold expressions and all pervading. It just doesn't exist on its own. कुछ है उधर साइड पे मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. No, बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. And again, I'm introducing you to another concept. And some of these things, especially today's YouTube class, please replay it, take notes if you have not understood anything on the class. Now, as I have gone into the grandfather club, I can give more tips that when we are in retirement mode, we can teach not just our own kids, other kids in the community, other people, even adults, something that we all should know from childhood. We don't live in isolation, number one. Number two, just because you are hearing my sound that I'm creating doesn't mean that is all the sound that is around you. There are a ton of things that happens around you, that which you cannot see, that you cannot hear. It's beyond your human audible range. If you have a pet dog at home, you will see the dog starting to bark even when the guy is around the corner. It may not be in front of your home, around the corner. How do they sense it? So, not every living organism is able to see and hear. Some organisms live by only hearing. People think snake is able to see you and attack you. No, it goes with a sense of sound. So, it's beautiful to learn some of these things. So, likewise, concept of energy is centric to our system. That is why we don't shake hands, because we don't want to transfer that energy. We don't know whether the person with whom you're shaking hand is of positive energy or negative energy. So that is the energy transfer that happens. We do believe it, and I do believe that. So we don't shake hand, we do this. This itself is a mudra that I said. You don't do this. This is like pointing a weapon. Again, the energy gets transferred through this to the person that you're directing at. So you got to be very careful with all these things. So obviously there are planets which we have recognized, Navagraha. And when we keep doing pujas, we do doshas for that, because those planets that exist and move in their own way has an impact on you. We celebrate the tithis, the different phases of the moon, because it has impact on how you behave, your mental state in your lifetime. So for everything, we recognize all these things. There was no Hubble telescope. There was nothing. We are very clear there are Navagrahas. Huh? So I enjoy my reading these days. The current topic, if you have not been in current topic, is there is a huge black hole that is million times the size of the Milky Way, and they don't know what is the origin of this. They don't know how it happened several 250 million years ago. I do trust them when they do all this computation arithmetics. The only problem that I have with that is, I'm not against science, is 10 years ago they said it is 200 million years ago. Today they said it may be 250 million years ago. Day after tomorrow they may say something else. And I have to believe all those three versions, because they are still battling. Astronomers of modern day are still battling whether Pluto is part of our solar system or not. We are very clear it is not. Huh? So the twist in the story is they believe that there is one more planet called Earth between Mars and Jupiter. So, without trying to slight anybody, it is like the same Colgate toothpaste that I've been using for the last so many years. We shall keep on seeing new Colgate, extra powerful Colgate, now with charcoal, without charcoal. It's the same formulation, no difference. So I'm not trying to demean others. We need what we need, but all you need to do is to just get into the meaning of it, in putting in some effort, and whatever you get, try to utilize that to gain the next level knowledge. So whatever I am sharing today is not something that I've read last night and I'm trying to share with you. It took years and years to even understand the surface level information. But once you understand, you fall in love with that information that you have, right? This is coming to you free of cost. The script is free, the class is free, everything is free. The same thing, you're going to pay hundreds of dollars into some other class or a gym to learn the same thing. Rather, we spread that knowledge, what we gain, to other people. And this has got nothing to do with Hinduism or Hindutva, etc. So let's keep the political discourse away. This is all about the knowledge that we have. So, all pervading, extremely subtle and undecaying, the source of all creation. Can anybody tell me quickly the word that we use for that? Bhotayonim, correct. So, this is how you learn. Learn and grasp it and memorize it and put it into your database. The wise behold everywhere, right? So, when we say unperceivable, we said beyond the reach of the sensory organs, right? They are called jnanendriyas. Beyond the reach of sensory organs is called jnanendriyas. Ungraspable means unapproachable even by the motor organs. Motor organs are correct, right? Huh? Yeah, they are called karmendriyas. Motor for action. Action means karma, kar. That is how you can keep a clue. Colorless. If you noticed it, when it came to colorless, I also use the word attributeless or formless at that point, because that is one way of interpreting by some commentators. Others may disagree. Hmm? So there are two ways of looking at it. Hey, you guys are confused yourself. We are all talking of the same shloka. Kumar says this, Sanjay says this, Usha says this. First, you guys figure it out. No, we don't need to figure it out. I'll give you a beautiful answer to that, right? And in engineering, we are taught that as a basics, Sanjay, right? If you look at this cup, from my side, there is something that I can see that you cannot see. There are some embossing here that you cannot see. Somebody sees it from the top, they will see it as a circle with a line. The object doesn't change. The commentary can be different. Object doesn't change. It in fact gives you a 360 perspective. That is number one. Number two, majority of our shlokas, and especially some of the key shlokas and mantras that we learn, actually in this Mundaka Upanishad, they don't say shlokas. So, by the way, I would like to be corrected technically. They call it as mantras, right? So why it is important to understand this is, again, I'm not making it a political class. I'm just trying to tell you, if you learn something and if you understand something, it is extremely important for you to understand it enough that when somebody tries to challenge it, either you say Tumi Chhatrapati and just move on, or keep your confidence level in your knowledge intact. The objective is not to teach somebody, or I debate and argue with people very hard on topics, but you will never see me in a public social media ever trying to lecture people on the details. I will never give the answers to those questions or shlokas in details in public, because in Tamil we say like "Kazhudhukku theriyuma karpura vaasana" appadinu. Means the translation to that, Sanjay and Sonalji, is if you show camphor in front of a donkey, the donkey will not be able to appreciate it as camphor by smell. So Our purpose of learning things is for our this thing, which is what Mundaka Upanishad is. Self-learning, self-discovery, understanding ourselves, not to show off the knowledge to somebody or to try you are inferior, superior compared to others. Yeah. So here, Avarnam has got different meaning. Yeah. So I got digressed there. A word in Sanskrit in a particular context can mean differently. Number one. If I use the word Avarnam in something else, the literal meaning could be different. Or somebody who is just amateur in learning can say, oh, Kumar said anything starts with A is negative. So Varnam is caste. So it is casteless. Correct? Makes sense? Varna, you all would have heard, right? It's called caste. I cannot use French in YouTube, so I'm not using it. That whole interpretation is, you know where to throw it. Varna is not caste. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Context. No, I'm talking of literal meaning of Varna. Varna in our system, Varna exists. Varna, Jati, Kula, that whole hierarchy and classification exists. But Varna is not the same as caste and it's not the same as race. They don't mean the same thing. And if I get into the details, I can talk for another 1 hour because now I'm getting formally trained. That is the colloquial understanding. So I'm now formally getting trained, so I can talk about Varna for another 2 hours. So that's a separate topic. I'm being trained. So just in full disclosure, but Varna is definitely not caste. But what has happened is there is a very famous guy that you all should know if you don't know. And I credit all our awakening and our desire to learn our own scriptures and system to this guy. He's like one of the famous politicians in India that is very popular now. I consider him at the same level. His name is called Max Muller, German origin. And you may be shocked to know the amount of people in Germany that do research in our scriptures. Today, that research has gone all the way up to Argentina and Chile. So if you think we are the intellectual property owners of all these things, very soon you will see by your grandson or great grandson that whole situation would have been changed. Your grandson will be going to a Chile university to learn Veda. So Max Miller's dedicated his entire lifetime to do all reading, interpretation. I don't want to comment on his level of IQ or judgment, but his intent was definitely never pure. His main purpose of his life was to destroy Sanatana Dharma, and which he confessed just before death, saying that he wasted his life. He never understood anything of it. He never understood the depth of it, and he just wasted his life. In his own words, not my words. So he is perceived to be a commentator, and if you Google it, you will find many documents authored by many Max Millers. If you think there's only one Max Miller can generate millions of Max Millers because there are many people who will follow him. I have people teaching me Sanatana Dharma through Osho. I have people teaching me Sanatana Dharma to Max Miller Bhavan. So it's very interesting to learn all those teachings. He translated it as casteless because for him, Varna, there is only one meaning he understood. Avarnam means casteless, which is a wrong interpretation. It is not anything to do with caste. And the reason for him to do that interpretation is again coming back to the next word in the sloka, agotram. Right? For those of you who know or who have already attended my other class and know about it, you gave a very literal meaning of Gotram as origin. Right? So those who did some homework today for the class were able to answer that, or people like Radha who know Sanskrit was able to answer based on her knowledge of Sanskrit. How many of you know why Gotram is called the origin? Because it's another hot topic in modern day world. Whether you learn Vedas or not, first you must learn all these terminologies that is prevalent in today's world. It's called patriarchy. Yeah. The word sounds very exciting. It will get you to some select club, community, and you can go on and on for many years talking about it. Be that as it may, the science behind that, which is still a debate between me and my daughter, older one, debate means positive, very constructive debate, is you are able to generate a trace of DNA only through the male. That is the fundamental of that Gotra system, or what we call it as patriarchy today. A very scientific. Now, you can say DNA testing, DNA mapping is all in the last 50, 60 years, 70 years. So, how did these people know? Gotram. Gotram means only through the male. And there was a momentary debate in the field of scientists that challenged the principle in terms of how the genetics get translated, in terms of the influencing gene in the DNA, that challenged the Gotra system. Yeah. But as I said, people will say there is another planet between Mars and Venus today. Day after tomorrow, they'll say, sorry, it was not there. So to me, the reason I'm maniacally following Vedas is it is Apaurushaya. It is not written by one Max Miller or one Kumar as mortal human beings where we can have our own agenda or context. You will not even be able to guess why I am saying all these things today. You can only hear what I'm saying. You can only understand what I'm saying. You can agree or disagree, but you will never be able to know the intent. So here at least I am engaging you directly. Imagine the PDF coming in from some source on the internet. You have no clue why it is written, what it is written, right? That is why I said you will find several Max Millers today. Whereas what is there in Vedas is not written by a human. Apaurushaya means is not written by a human. So it is easy and safer to benchmark yourself and your life with that and develop your understanding rather than a commentary. That brings to another favorite term that I always say: before you come to a conclusion on something, ensure that you go to the source document. What I mean by that is, in any of our scriptures or documents, you will see many bhashyams or commentaries written by many people, because this is one of the oldest system prevalent on earth. So in so many centuries or millenniums, you would have had several geniuses that would have spent their lifetime in reading it, interpreting it, and giving a commentary. Commentary means what I'm doing right now. I'm explaining things in my own words, not necessarily the actual meaning to you. That's a commentary. So while you can use a commentary to understand what that scripture or the shloka says or mantram says, it cannot be the end all for you. You need to be in pursuit of going beyond what I am sharing with you today to do your own research and learning and form your own conclusions. And that conclusion can be different amongst each one of you that have learned these things from one source. And that is okay. The reason for that is, again, every one of the mantras and shlokas that we have, there are embedded, encrypted mantras and bijaksharas ad infinitum. I can't even count. So if you take Chandi part, for example, there are 700 shlokas, Saptashati, 700 shlokas. My gurus, if you follow them, their explanation of the shlokas, You will be blown away. And I'll just give one very surface level example. I don't want to take too much time in talking about all that. You'd have heard Kali is now sucking all the blood when she is chopping off somebody's head, and she's licking off the hair blood, right? You must have heard it or seen it in TV serials, etc. If you just stop at that and say, What nonsense is this? I mean, your goddess is all drinking blood and sucking blood. So you can come to a conclusion, oh, your goddesses are bloodsuckers. My short answer to that is I don't debate with people. I'll say, thank you. You have earned your next birth, next Janma. Guaranteed there is no moksha for you in this Janma. If that is the way you want to interpret and understand it. You need people like him or educated people who have spent years to reverse engineer and understand that. So Panchadashi is one mantra, Mula mantra. It consists of 15 letters. It's a very important Mula mantra in Sri Vidya. It has got 16 different meanings. And it took me 22 weeks just to present 6 meanings or 6 slides. It took me 22 weeks. I don't consider myself even in Montessori level. So you can imagine conceptually, spiritually, the depth of these things that we have been handed over. I mean, we don't deserve this. Honestly speaking, we don't deserve this. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for everybody, but we don't deserve what we get. But the least we can do is to start some homework and the journey in saying what is that lower level knowledge and what is that upper level knowledge, why it is important to us as human beings, what are we going to gain? Is it to say that I know Mundaka Upanishad also, or I can chant it, or can I take the meaning of it and start seeing how to apply it in our day-to-day life? So because the word agotram was there, he concluded it is casteless. That's the narrowest interpretation that one can get. Sorry? No. I was explaining why he used the word avarnam as casteless. Is it because of also the fact that there is agotram. So to him, gotra is all caste system. Varna is all caste system. For him, it's all one caste system, right? And today we have an ordinance passed in the City Council of Seattle. Caste discrimination. Somebody can just sue me based on this YouTube video. Oh, Kumar is now doing caste discrimination. I can be taken to court, put in jail for 20 years. That's the world we are living in, if you want to be oblivious to what is happening around us. So, here in this case, when we talk of Atman, right, we are talking of anything that is beyond the 3 gunas. Gunas are 3 gunas, you all know, right? So, it is beyond the 3 gunas or the attributes. So, in the beauty of this shloka, why I took so much time in this one shloka today is the first half of the mantra. I shouldn't keep using the word shloka. I'm used to saying it. I must start saying it as mantram. The first half of the mantram denotes Brahman by all negative attributes and disassociating it from all objective connotations to distance itself, agotram, agrehyam, adreshyam, etc., etc. Whereas the second half of the mantra describes Atman by the positive epithets. And the best you can do is to describe it like this, like the story of the elephant that we have learned in childhood. It's a rope, it's a pillar, it's a wall, etc. Because you're describing the different parts. Elephant is so big that you can't just describe it in one word. You have to use so many descriptive interpretations. What it also means is, coming back to the example of the cup that I gave, an engineer is already taught in school that you can't describe this object by one view, which is the front view or the rear view or the top view. We are always taught, when you look at any engineering drawing, you will have multiple views. So now, you can be naive to say, oh, now you're confusing me with so many descriptions. You tell me what it is in one word. No, I can't. Right? I have to give you all the views, and it is up to your intelligence to combine everything and understand what the shape is or the form is. And it gets even more complex when there are certain things that you can't describe with certain known attributes to humans, mortal humans like us. I made a faint attempt in saying manifold expressions. I could come up with 2, 3 words, plants, animals, and etc. etc. I couldn't go beyond that because there are so many different ways by which you can express it. And it's also important because these are the questions that the next generation is asking us. Oh, 33 crore devatas. You guys are so desperate, greedy, and confused. Because the starting assumption is the Maxwell assumption. Devata means 2 hands, 1 head with lots of ornaments and legs and sitting above the cloud. So, since you have reached up to Mundaka Upanishad, I think it is important for you to understand anything that is part of the cosmos, Srishti, is called Devata for us. Vayu, air, Devata. Varnam, water, Devata. Fire, Agni, Devata. And it's important that each of these Devata have got their own Bijaksharas. Specific. I've talked about it. Lam for Prithvi, Ham for Akasham, Yam for Vayu, Ram for Agni. Right? So it's all going to boil down to sound, and those Bijaksharas will come back to Pranavam, which is Om. So I hope with that connection, I was able to do some justice and not confuse you. If it did confuse you, if it was very boring, let me know. I can give a very simple explanation. Sonalji is my monitor, class monitor. So if she smiles, that means the class was good. If she doesn't, then I have to think about it. Good. Uh, uh, Thumbs up, yeah. She is a very generous woman. She's a very generous lady. Yeah. Yeah. So, but very, very encouraging because, Usha and Sonalji, both of you appear to be prepared. So that really helps. But the aspect of Max Miller is very important lesson. Um do not read a PDF or a document from internet and form conclusions. Especially in Srividya, I had formed a research group, which is where I was presenting that Panchadashi. In one concept of Srividya, one small part of it, there are many authors who have given their interpretations. And it was important for that research group to focus and understand all the commentaries. The reason for that is uh, when you talk of rituals, sutras, etc., it tells you what to do. No, if you want to perform a Vigneshwara Puja, it tells you exactly the structure. If you want to do a Navagraha Homa, it tells you exactly what to do. So it's easy to acquire that knowledge of what to do. In most of my class, where what I spend is, you also need to know what not to do because that's not available in any books. To do is easy to learn and practice. What not to do comes out of experience or this kind of a conversation. And when you sit and do things independently, after you do your theory course in the class, you go to do practice. My Veda class students have been taught. They can even do Pavitra and Kurcha themselves. These are boys of 7 years and 9 years of age. They've been taught. They can set the kalashas. They will know exactly how to set the kalashas and what are the names of each of those things. So that knowledge is equally important because without that knowledge, suddenly you decide to do a puja and then you don't know 80% of many things for you to do that. So here, the reason I love this guy is, as I said, he gives you that rude awakening of what you don't know or what you should not know and what you should know. Nice benchmark. Majority of his commentaries will be like this, will be centered around the whole caste system. That is his greatest gift to Indians, which we are still battling, and in a big way, it has reached the shores of Atlantic and Pacific also. So wake up, things are changing around you. So I'm glad you're spending this time and investing this time to understand this. There are many, many more things that we all can learn. So thank you so much for your patient hearing. Hope this was useful. See you next time. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'll just remove this thing.